Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. Here to bring you the latest and greatest geeky news of the week. I am your host, Sean Hayes, and we've got some big news with Animal Crossing, and then a smattering of some other pop culture news thrown in there. So it's good to be back. I'm feeling much better than last week. I got a cold from my son, and it knocked me out. I'm still kind of getting over that, but definitely good enough to do a podcast this week. So I hope you're all doing okay, and you're all doing great. So that said, why don't we get into our topics? Shall we? Ooh, that one registered a little bit on the microphone, so I'll have to turn that down. Okay, so first up on the docket. There we go. As I said, Animal Crossing. There will be a free update on November 5th, which is the version 2.0 update. This will be the final free content update. Or at least last major free content update. However, there will also be paid DLC available on the same day. We're going to talk about that later. I'm going to go into a lot of the features that are in this update during our deep dive segment. But just so you know, November 5th, that is when those updates are coming. So mark your calendars. If you're an Animal Crossing fan, it's going to be big. So if you haven't played in a while like I have, might be enough to get you back into the game. So, next up, Critical Role. Some news on Critical Role, a couple different things. So Campaign 3 set in Marquet starts tomorrow, October 21st. Or if you're an audio listener, today. According to a Variety interview with the cast, in addition to all these initiatives that they're doing and all the success that they've had and everything, there's apparently a video game in very early stages of development. So that's very exciting. And for those who are watching live or watching the video VOD, the slide here is the cover art for a new adventure book that's coming from both Wizards of the Coast and Critical Role, Call of the Nethderdeep, going to be released, I believe, March 2022. So this is going to be an adventure module. This is not a campaign setting. Excuse me. But it is going to be set in Marquet. And also takes place in a realm called the Nethderdeep, which is some sort of blend between like deep ocean and far realm type stuff. So there is perhaps some speculation that the cover art features characters that may be a teaser for what we see in Campaign 3. If it's the group's characters, a little unsure about that. And it has writing credits from obviously Matthew Mercer, but also James Haeck. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, who has written a bunch of stuff for Dungeons & Dragons before. I believe used to be part of the D&D Beyond team. Chris Perkins, lead designer? I think he's like the lead adventure designer or something for D&D. But also LaTia Jacquise, I think is how her name's pronounced. Mackenzie De, I think it's Armas. I think hang on. Oh god, it's all falling apart now. De Armas. Okay, so I had it written wrong in the notes and then said it correctly on stream. Mackenzie De Armas, Sadie Lowry, and Cassandra Khaw, or Khaw. All writing credits for the adventure book. Yeah. So another partnership between Critical Role and Wizards of the Coast. So to clarify, this is an adventure book. So this is not a campaign setting. They did confirm, there were 2 classic campaign settings coming in 2022. Those are likely slated for fall releases. So that's something to keep in mind. Since we got some Unearthed Arcana for Spelljammer, basically. So a bunch of Spelljammer character options. So we may see Spelljammer in the fall. So just want to keep that, so that folks that don't like Critical Role stuff don't get the torches and pitchforks out because it's going to supplant one of the classic settings. That's not the case. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, next up, Steam has recently added provisions to its publishing rules that prohibit the sale of games featuring NFTs or non-fungible tokens. So this is likely due to controversy surrounding NFTs. It's sort of a hot topic right now, due to ethics, environmental impact, and all that stuff. Seems like now they're starting to be abused, where people are stealing content and then claiming ownership of it through NFTs. So Steam said we're out. We're not allowing them. Epic has, famously said that they don't want any part of it either, although they do not have similar provisions. And they kind of said something to the effect of like, well, we like money though, so who knows? So I just thought that was a little bit of interesting news to throw in here. DC Fandome 2021 was this past week. So we got new trailers for The Batman, Peacemaker, and Black Adam. All TV and movies, as well as Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League from Rocksteady, and Gotham Knights Court of Owls from WB Games. So a lot of stuff coming out of that. Black Adam certainly looks interesting. The Dwayne Johnson, very excited about it. Sort of a passion project for him. But Robert Patterson as the Batman, I don't know how I feel. It seems to just push even further into like the dark, grimy, edgy, sort of off the hook Batman. And I don't know, it feels kind of more of the same thing. But there are people that enjoy that. So this is just something that's not for me. But notably, the Riddler seeming to have a big part in the trailer. So a return of the Riddler. And a more serious take as opposed to the Jim Carrey take on it. Next up, Marvel Studios, several Phase 4 films have been delayed. So it looks like they probably needed more time for Doctor Strange. So it's pretty much because they're bumping that, everything else is getting bumped to like the next time slot. So Doctor Strange is getting bumped to May 6th, 2022, which then starts sort of the domino effect, the chain reaction of bumping everything behind it. So previously in that slot was Thor: Love and Thunder. That's getting bumped to July 8th, which is bumping Black Panther to November 11th, which is still 3 Marvel movies that year. That still seems like a lot to me. Black Panther bumping Marvels to February 27th, 2023, which is then bumping Ant-Man, something Quantumania or something like that, to July 28th, 2023. So, excuse me, a lot of bumping happening. Disney's also bumping Indiana Jones 5, which is still in progress. I am amazed that is even being made with Harrison Ford, who will be 81 by the time the film comes out. That seems like shocking. And like part of the reason the production got delayed was like he got injured during like a fight scene or something. And it's like the man's 79 years old. Can you not do fights? I don't. Like Disney, you got to figure out how to recast Indiana Jones at this point. Like let Harrison Ford just retire. Let him be retired. it's famously known that he just wants to. Like, it's one of the where you have to offer him enough money to warrant him actually doing something, and he's very clear about that. And he was adamantly clear about that for the new Star Wars trilogy. So, yeah. But Marvel Studios Phase 4, a bunch of films delayed. Honestly, this is fine. I mean, we're getting Eternals next month, and then Hawkeye, and then Spider-Man. So that's like 3 big things all within the span of basically a month between those releases. So I feel like maybe they're doing a little there's a lot. It's a lot. Like, and I say this as someone that watches Critical Role live every week. Like, it's a lot. So keep that in mind, folks. All right. Last up, Pokemon. So 2 things. One for Pokemon Unite. Halloween event starts today. So all sorts of interesting stuff involving like some sort of pumpkin event, like new mode where you I don't know, there's like a pumpkin gun and you shoot people and turn them into pumpkins or something. Some new costumes and outfits, and some cosmetic stuff. One thing to note is so apparently like you get pumpkins for doing the event stuff. But even if you complete everything and collect all the pumpkins, you won't be able to get everything. So I say that. Apparently a bunch of the stuff that you can use pumpkins for, they are available with other forms of currency, so keep that in mind. Like, if you can pick up something with other currency, maybe do that and save the pumpkins for stuff that like you can only get with pumpkin currency or something. So that's a little PSA. I don't feel great about the fact that, like, at least they tell you, but like that still doesn't feel great that like even if you do everything, it's impossible to use the currency that you collect to get all of the items. That kind of falls into sort of the latest couple of business decisions from Tencent on this game, namely like the $40 Ninetales skin. It's a character cosmetic that costs as much as a full-on game title. That's a lot. But also we got the next Pokemon, Greedent. So for folks who have not played Sword and Shield and don't know what Greedent is from the latest game. It's a 2-stage evolution. It's a big chunky squirrel from Sword and Shield. It kind of fulfills the role of like Rattata Raticate, like the rodent that shows up early game. It's not very good, just like most of the other rodents. Like it's not great. But they want to put weird little offbeat Pokemon in this game. I wish they would have picked something else, but because like I don't know if there are any fans of Greedent. Like any people that are actual fans of Greedent, as opposed to like memes and stuff. But is in the game as a melee defender. Has a pretty high attack stat. Has a lot of moves that do combos by like storing up berries, and then doing stuff with stored up berries. So I haven't gotten a chance to play, but it'll certainly be interesting. And I believe Greedent is in the game for 8,000 coins. So which is kind of middle of the road. It's a little bit on the lower end for a Pokemon release. And that comes with a bunch of balance changes, namely like Dreadnought getting nerfed, Rotom getting buffed, Zapdos getting a little bit of an inconsequential nerf, and some other balance like Pikachu getting a huge buff, Venusaur getting a little bit of a nerf to bring it in line, Lucario getting a little bit of a nerf, Blastoise getting a little bit of a nerf, Gengar getting a potentially like gameplay changing buff. So that's exciting, as someone that vastly prefers Gengar to other speedsters, but Gengar kind of needed some help. So, all right. That is enough for Pokemon Unite. Also, for Sword and Shield, speaking of which, GameStop is going to be just distributing some legendary Pokemon codes. So this starts October 22nd and continues through November 26th, and it's divided into two parts, depending on which game you have. So, for people that have Pokemon Shield, you will be able to go to GameStop from October 22nd to November 11th to get codes for a shiny Zacian, which is the legendary from Pokemon Sword. It's the wolf that has the sword. So this is interesting. I don't know if Pokemon's or if the Pokemon Company's really done this before. I know they've given out codes for just like whatever legendaries, regardless of what game you have. I did that with Diamond and Pearl, X and Y and stuff, where like you just get all the legendaries. This one, they're limiting them to shinies for the opposite version. So that's interesting. Starting on November 12th through November 26th, Pokemon Sword owners like myself will get codes for shiny Zamazenta. What this means is if you happen to want a shiny version of the legendary you have, you are going to have to trade for it. And there's not really any other way around that. So, I believe they're going to be card-based. So you may have to go into the store and request cards. So, that will actually get me into GameStop. Because Zamazenta is one of the few Pokemon that I still need for my my complete Pokedex. So, all right. That is going to wrap up our quickfire news. So that is going to bring us into our deep dive segment. All right, so big Animal Crossing Direct. All right, so as I stated before, the update, the 2.0 update, and the DLC, Happy Home Paradise, are both releasing November 5th, 2021. And will include a whole bunch of stuff. So the free update is going to include quite a bit on its own. And then the DLC is going to include quite a bit more on top of that. So let's cover what's going into the free update first. So first up, we're going to get the Roost and Brewster. So for those that don't know, Brewster is an NPC in Animal Crossing. He owns a coffee shop, little cafe. Originally started out as part of the museum. In later games, they moved it out of the museum into a separate building. This is going to go back into the museum. Not really a lot involved with it, aside from just being able to, like, it's just a place to hang out, like to go and hang out. Like you can get little cups of coffee. It doesn't really do anything. I don't know if there will be any specific, like occasionally before he's had like little missions to give stuff to different villagers. I don't know if that's returning or if it's just like a social space. Like I don't know if it'll be a place where you can get like extra performances from KK Slider, because that's been a thing. It's unclear. I was never really a big fan of the Cafe and Brewster. I know there are some people that are really into him, so this will be what those folks have been waiting for, like for basically the past year and a half, pretty much. In addition, Captain returns. So Captain was always, he would take you on a boat or on a bus to someplace and take you to like an extra, usually to like a tropical island so that you can get coconuts and stuff. He returns this time to once again bring you to special little islands on a boat tour where the island, may be in a different time of day, in a different season, with special flora and fauna there. So that's very exciting. So that means, that you won't necessarily have to wait for certain months of the year in order to like fish or catch bugs, or certain times of day. It also means, if you are really needing a bunch of like wishing star pieces, that like you could go there and you happen to go on an island that like, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon is actually nighttime, and there's, a star shower, meteor shower. So, next up, Harv's Island. So Harv's Island, not really used an awful lot unless like you're big into like taking photos and stuff. There was like a couple of events throughout the year, like wedding season and things like that. Now, Harv's Island will be expanded and will have these empty market stalls that you can supply materials and equipment for, that will unlock special vendors that will be there all the time. So this will be like Sahara, Kicks, Katrina, like for specialty goods. So that's really cool. I like that feature. The next one up is a little weird. Group stretching sessions. So like there'll be a little boombox out in the town square. So it's like group yoga. And like it, you're able to use the Joy-Cons and like do motion controls and stuff with it. It's very weird. I don't know entirely what the purpose will be, aside from like if they're just adding a little bit of like stretching motion control stuff for Animal Crossing to do something a little fun. But yeah. Island ordinances. So longtime fans of the series will remember how like in town there used to be like town ordinances that could be set up. And it's basically like a bunch of little like rules or like a rules profile that you could set in place, where it's essentially setting a goal and your villagers will help tend that goal. And usually it was things like picking up trash, so that like no trash would appear, and like weeds would get pulled up and everything, or like flower watering, so that like all the flowers around town would get watered. Now there could be like early riser an ordinance, so that like everybody will wake up earlier, or presuming like night owl, so that everybody will go to bed later, and things like that. So that's exciting. There will be new home exterior options and another expanded storage option from Tom Nook. So this is just extra cosmetic options for the exterior of your house. There will be new Nook Miles items, including new fencing options. So that's very cool. Lots of little decorative stuff. Now, here's where we get into some big stuff. Farming is coming to Animal Crossing. So you will be able to plant crops. So we saw this a little bit with like pumpkins during Halloween last year. Now it'll also include things like tomatoes and cucumbers and corn and all that stuff. And then to further that, cooking. So there will be recipes, and there will be expanded stuff. There will be new like utensils that you place in the kitchen that will allow you to cook things, and you will be able to make dishes. So like you can eat the dishes, because like there's no health, there's no stamina or anything in Animal Crossing. Entirely cosmetic. But I don't know if, for example, like different villagers will have different like favorite meals, or meals that they like or don't like, and if you give them meals that they like, they might give you stuff in exchange. But yeah, ultimately it's also just add like more options for things to place in your home. So like if you wanted to set a table, like around Thanksgiving time, like if you want to make a big Thanksgiving turkey thing and place it on your table and put little plates everywhere, you'll be able to do that. And then to complement that, we're also getting lighting and ceiling decor. So chandeliers and like hanging lights and hanging planters and things like that, that will actually get placed on the ceiling and hang down. Accent walls, so you'll be able to add things like wainscoting to your walls, It's all very interior design sort of focused. But it's, it's something that adds a lot. Like, you don't really think about it, but like this adds so many more design options. And it's great. Gyroids are coming back. So gyroids notably absent from this game. Now you'll be able to like get gyroid seeds and then plant them and have the little robots that make noise, and they'll have like interesting interactions with music tracks. There will now be a craftable like a storage shed that you can store stuff that will be connected to your storage, so that you build it, you put it down somewhere, and like you'll be able to access your storage from there, as well as a portable ABD or automatic bells dispenser, so that way you can store money or withdraw money. An upgraded photo camera with new features, and new furniture, including a streaming desk. Basically, it's big, stylish desk. It's got 3 monitors. It's got like a little camera. It's got a big PC attached to it and everything. It's so good. I need it. I need it now. I'm like, I saw that alone and I was like, I'm in. Bring it. Bring this game. And this is the free portion. So November 5th, I may clear my stream schedule and just do more Animal Crossing starting at that point, which I'm sure everybody else will be. I don't care. So yeah, tune in for that. If only for the cooking and farming. Like, I would do it just for that. So no word yet on still, like, pumpkins, like once you plant them, like they last all year. I don't know if they're going to introduce like stuff like dying off during the winter time, or if you'll just be able to like grow crops year round. I don't know how in depth the farming is going to get. So, all right. So we got that. Now let's get to the Happy Home Paradise DLC. So this is DLC pack, $25, where it introduces like a separate island, where you are like you get a job as a vacation home designer. So you will access this by going to the airport and you'll say like, I want to go to work. So like, once again, sort of like Stardew Valley, like this weird thing of playing a video game where you do things that like are very mundane, and like you could do the same thing as in real life, but like it may not be as fulfilling as doing it in game, like tidying up your house and like pulling weeds and stuff. Like, it's a lot more fun in a video game than it is in real life. But yeah, so you get a job with this design company, or that rents out vacation homes, and your job is to design the homes for the client. And so like they'll give you a list of like, here's what I want. Design my vacation home, based on that. And they'll give you maybe a list of like 3 items that must be included. And you have to like kind of sort of like the Happy Home Academy, design a theme for the interior of the house based on that. Eventually, you can also design municipal buildings and businesses on the island. So they talk about things like schools and restaurants that like then will be used, which is a really neat and interesting concept. So like, not only are you designing it, but then like it actually gets used. It doesn't necessarily go on your island, but now for like a lot of the folks who, like myself, have like built outdoor things on the island, like little outdoor cafes, or in my case, like an arcade. I've seen people do like a lot of cafes or open air bars, tiki bars and things like that. Little gardens and things. So there will be some buildings and businesses for you to design the interior of. as you progress through this, it will unlock design options that can be used on your island in the main game. So things like partitioned walls or partition walls. So right now, like, we have like partitions, which is like an item that you drop down, but like you can't hang stuff on them. You know, they can look a little weird. It looks a little disjointed. This will be like you actually have a wall that sections off areas of the room, and you'll be able to decorate it like any other wall. So this will be a way to like subdivide your bigger rooms in your house. Super excited about that. Columns. So these will be like adding support beams and stuff in your house. Counters and benches. So great for folks that like really want to go into like a restaurant, cafe, diner type theme in some of the rooms in their house. So yeah. And these can be like combined with the other like accent walls and things like that. You know, like wainscoting and stuff. So if you have any Animal Crossing amiibos or the cards, these can be scanned to design homes for those villagers. They talk about Isabelle and Tom Nook in particular, so like being able to design a space for them seems really interesting. Like it might actually get me to look into acquiring ones for them. Or like Timmy and Tommy. Like I don't know if Tom Nook actually has one now that I think about it. But like Isabelle has one, Timmy and Tommy have one. So yeah, you know, a lot of people were really excited to just have like Isabelle be able to like have a place to go home to and not just spend all of her time in the office. You know, her and Tom Nook just falling asleep at the desks, sort of a thing. Now, this will also be included as part of the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. So like if you get the expansion pack, you can get this DLC for free and you keep it as long as the subscription is active. This prompted, they also listed the pricing for the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. Now this generated its whole new thing. And kind of overshadowed the DLC and the update announcement. So we knew before that the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack was going to include a select amount of Nintendo 64 games, a bunch of Sega Genesis games, and now we know that it's going to include Animal Crossing DLC. So that way you don't have to pay the $25 for it. What we didn't know was the price. All right, and we know it releases on the 25th. The price is increasing. So if you get this, you pay a higher tier than the base package. The base package is not going away. For a single person, it's $50 a year. Now that includes so it's increasing from $20 a year to $50 a year. So you're not like paying $20 and then paying $50 on top of that. So it's a $30 increase yearly. And then for the family plan, it increases from 36 to 80. So that represents, you know, a $44 increase. Yeah, per year. That's a lot. I think this is, you know, a bit of a head scratcher. You know, a lot of folks have pointed out that likely the reason for this is a lot of licensing fees. You know, particularly on the Sega side, which doesn't feel great. Right? And this is, you know, licensing ultimately boils down to why we don't have a lot of titles on NES Online and Super NES Online, you know, because, you know, companies, namely like Square and Capcom, have figured out that they can release their own bundles and that you pay for it. So like, why would they put it on a service like that? Uh, for them, it doesn't really make sense. So ultimately, it makes me wonder, the if if the price is going to go up that much. I mean, we better start seeing some really interesting third-party options for the N64 titles that get released. Now, I say this, I was already planning on getting it, and we did. We're gonna do the upgraded family plan. However, we also have a bunch of friends on our family plan. So like, we have 7 people on the family plan, or we'll have 7 people on the family plan. So we're dividing that cost 7 ways. So it's not that bad. My suggestion would be, if you're considering that, or if you're on the fence and don't know, maybe look into that. Like, if you have a group of friends, like if you have enough friends where you all want that plan, because then that becomes, $10 a year for the family plan, instead of everybody individually paying 50, which is like, that feels like a lot, right? And like, I understand the economics of it, but it's a big price hike, and I think Nintendo might be in for a bit of an awakening. Like, I think this will make money, but I think it's not nearly going to be as popular as they're planning it would be. And my only concern is if they take the attitude of, it's not popular, so we're not going to invest further in it, as opposed to, it's not popular, we need to invest further to make it more of a value proposition for users, so that they do sign up for it. The other question now is, if there's DLC included, is if they're going to start adding more DLC for games in there. And I think that could also be an interesting avenue. Especially if they start adding like it doesn't really help the average user at this point if they start adding back catalog stuff, like, the Zelda DLC expansion, or Smash Brothers content, as part of the Nintendo Switch Online stuff. I don't know. Since most of the folks have bought it, or they're not going to buy it regardless. But it'll be interesting to see if there's any other, paid DLC content that gets rolled into that. I was listening to Nintendo Voice Chat, which is IGN's Nintendo podcast, and it was mentioned that it would be great to have Pokemon Home bundled in that. And I would love to see that. I don't think it's going to happen, because Pokemon Company is a separate entity, and they seem to just want to get however much money they can, using whatever nefarious things that they can get. See Pokemon Unite. But if, like, that would be something that I think would be great, because that's not a whole lot per year. Well, I say it's not a whole lot per year, but it might be like $10-$12 or something per year, maybe. Let's just double check that Pokemon Home price. There is a free plan. I remember that. $16 a year. That would be great if they could roll that into the Switch Online expansion pack, I gotta say. But I don't think that's gonna happen. So yeah. Ultimately, that price hike. Well, I can't really say a price hike, because, again, base plan is not changing. So this is only if you want N64 games, Sega Genesis games, that you're going to have to upgrade to this higher tier. And I would say, let's say that you're interested enough in playing those games that you were going to upgrade anyway. If you're an Animal Crossing fan, like this is added value. That it's a bonus for something that you were already going to get. Now, if you were going to get the DLC and you were kind of on the fence about the expansion pack, now it becomes like, does this push it over the edge? Because it's paying $25 once and then you have the DLC versus essentially paying $25 every year. And if you ever cancel that, it goes away. Now, you could argue that if you were to ever cancel, like you could pay the $25 to get the DLC and then cancel, and then you would still have the access to the DLC. I think that's going to be allowed, but obviously we'll need some confirmation on that. Like, don't go and do that thinking that, I've done research, like scientific research to test this. But this is just how I'm pretty certain, like, you could not game the system with that, but if you were gonna get the expansion pack, try it out, and then want to cancel it and get the DLC for a little bit, also I think they're only having the expansion pack available for year bundles. Like, I don't think they're allowing you to sign up month to month for it. So that is also, it's not live yet, so we'll find out on the 25th, but that is something to keep in mind. And it'll be on the topic for the podcast next week, so we'll report back on that. So, okay, so that is going to wrap up our deep dive, which means it is time for quest log. All right, so quest log is where I talk about sort of geeky goal I have to set for myself for the week. So it's basically like, pick something geeky, make a goal of it, get it done, as just sort of a way to keep myself motivated to do something and stay on task with something. So unfortunately, the one that I had last time was like get caught up on video editing and comics coloring. And then like my parents were visiting, so we went away for the weekend, and then after we came back, I got sick. So it didn't happen. So I'm still working on it. That is what's going to be the case. So what this means is I'm still working on editing a Breath of the Wild highlight video, and then highlight videos theoretically for Stardew Sundays 28, Stardew Sundays 29. I have decided, as a way to help get caught back up, I'm not going to do a highlight compilation for the Phasmophobia streams, or like the one Metroid Dread stream that I did. I'm not going to do those. I'm just going to focus on getting sort of the backlog completed. But also, in addition to that, it's also sort of on the long-term side of things. I'm going to make some channel-specific, start, end screens, be right back screen, chatting screens, and overlays and stuff. As opposed to, like, I like the borderline one that I have, which is the name of this overlay. And I'll probably keep this for the podcast and just make it a little more podcast-oriented. But, for specific stuff like Stardew Sundays, it's going to be a lot more Stardew Valley themed, for, the starting screens and stuff like that. I'm going to feature my artwork and characters a bit more, and maybe push a little further in that direction. So, we'll see this on, my comic streams, the other game streams, and Stardew Sundays. I'm not going to touch the podcast for now. And then, And then I'm going to try and get some more comics done. I've fallen really behind on that. So the goal is still to get them all done by the end of the year. And unfortunately, I mean, time's kind of running out. I got to do like 2. It's not quite 2 a day. But I mean, it's like 1 every other. It's getting pretty close to like 1 every other day. So like 3 or 4 a week. So, yeah, and I don't know why we've been dropping frames this week. It's been pretty bad, but so that is what is on the docket for my goal for this past week. So I know it's just a bit of a continuation from last time, but this is like, it's a big one. I really need to get caught up on this. And unfortunately, video editing is very time consuming, so that's why I really want to like buckle down and get working on this stuff. So it's also why you haven't seen anything on the YouTube channel lately. But you know, getting sick sucks. Like there's no way of getting around that. So, all right, that is going to wrap up this week's episode. If you would like to see more content from 8-Bit Adventures, be sure to check out 8-bitadventures.com. Over there, I have my comics, my artwork, you know, VODs for the streams, podcasts, and all that stuff. If you would like to help support that content, please consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/8bitadventures. Becoming a subscriber on Twitch like helps get emotes. However, you know, you can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. So that's like 20% of the cost of a Twitch subscription. And you get access to patron exclusive comics, exclusive channels in the Discord server. You get comics early. So like comics are currently like 4 weeks early-ish. So you'll be able to see all those early. You know, and there's extra little benefits and stuff. There's like some playtest preview content for my D&D homebrew setting. So yeah, all that great stuff and more. Special thanks to all of the patrons for helping, you know, keep the lights on, keeping servers paid for, hosting paid for, and all that stuff. It's a huge help. So finally, our opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. And with that, we are done. So as always, have fun, everyone. Happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.